like the kid who does extra credit with this one because not a lot of people go Old Testament, but today we're going Old Testament. So we're going to take our scripture from Leviticus 20:26. That is Leviticus 20:26. I'm going to type that into the chat real quick. Forgive my spelling if it is depleted, but Leviticus, Leviticus. See, like that's his thing. I named it and I claimed it. I misspelled Leviticus. It's Leviticus. Sorry. So Leviticus, right? Apparently this is the Message version. I'm sorry. So we got Leviticus 20:26. I'm gonna read it here real quick, and then we're gonna go from there. You are to be holy to me, because I, the Lord, am holy, and I have set you apart from the nations to be my own. It's a short verse, so I'm going to read it again. You are to be holy to me, because I, the Lord, am holy, and I have set you apart from the nations to be my own. So we're going to pause that for a second, and then we're going to actually unpack the definition of frustration. So what is the definition of frustration? The definition of frustration is the feeling of being upset or annoyed, especially because of the inability to change or achieve something. I'm going to read that again because, wow, weight loss, right? Frustration, the feeling of being upset or annoyed, especially because of the inability to change or achieve something. So we're going to take that and we're going to merge it with Leviticus 20:26 to ask this question. In all of your experiences, as it pertains to weight loss, health and wellness, your body image, and everything encompassing in that, are your frustrations legitimately godly? And what I mean by that is this. When you look at the things in your life that genuinely frustrate you about weight loss, how close is God in that process? Because here's what I take from this, from my own experience. I spent a large chunk of my overweight life trying to reach worldly goals based on worldly desires. And then I would get frustrated as all get out because I felt like God wasn't a part of the process. And as I look back upon it, I can genuinely say, were these goals, were these desires, and were these frustrations set apart from the world? Or was I doing something that the world called me to do, whether it's image or the approach or the praise and acclaim? Was I trying to do that and then trying to shove God into that and then get frustrated when he wouldn't? So that's where I think a lot of our frustration with weight loss actually comes to be. It's because we get so focused on how good our booty looks, or we get so focused on losing that weight so that when we go to that wedding, or that when we go to that high school reunion, or when we see that ex, that we're going to make them feel so jealous. Or whenever we see those posts on social media that say, yeah, you know that one ex that just kept getting hotter and hotter? That's me. All the things that have made me frustrated in my life as it pertains to weight loss and the struggle are the exact same things that God had no part of, whether it was active prayer life, even just the mentality. And so when you take the concept of frustration, and let's go back to that, the feeling of being upset or annoyed, especially because of the inability to change or achieve something. And this is where I'm going to ask you guys, are the things that you're trying to change things that would get a well done, good and faithful servant? Or are the things that you're trying to change becoming so much of an idol in your life that you don't even know where that goal ends and where God would start? And for me, it's that tension that a lot of people want to check out on. And I've talked to people, even as recently as a week ago, who got super angry at me because I just kept pushing the gospel into the process and it was not what they wanted to hear. And and I wish Stephanie was here today because Stephanie sent me a quote and I'm going to butcher it, so I apologize in advance. But it was around the concept of accountability is only found annoying when those actions aren't really wanting to be changed. Or that's frustrating. So when it comes to how do we avoid this, this is where I believe we really find the wisdom of Leviticus 20:26 as a refresher. You are to be holy for me, because I, the Lord, am holy, and I have set you apart from the nations to be my own. We all have goals, and in no way, shape, or form is this me saying, do not have goals. Y'all know me. I love goals. I love to write them down. I love to journal, annoyingly so. But my question is, if someone looked at your goals, would they know just from your goals that you were a follower of Christ? And again, this is nothing wrong with having a great booty. You should have a great booty, but that should only come as a byproduct of wanting to live the healthiest way you can, by wanting to glorify God through your actions. I believe the root of all of the weight loss frustrations that we face is because we take that whole concept and we flip it upside down. We take the whole premise of losing weight and say, God, if I just get sexy, you'll bless me with the best husband or the best wife. God, if I lose weight, finally I'll be able to look in the mirror and go, yes, I am created in your identity. God, if I lose weight, then X, Y, and Z. The problem with that is that is saying that we are not enough, that we were created with some deficiency, as if God's not enough. And we wonder why those prayers might seem hollow. Hey, God, I'm going to criticize your creation, but oh, by the way, will you please bless my efforts to fix what you didn't do right in your creation? I don't know how you guys would take that, but I'd be like, dang, I made you in my image, and yeah, you may like bonbons for a little bit, but like we can work through that. You still are awesome, but like just don't have so many bonbons for you a bit. Point being is that I believe a lot of us have been programmed for many years to have very worldly goals. And I'm not saying not to strive for some of those intangibles, but what I am saying is make sure that those are the byproduct of what you're pursuing and not the goal. Because one of the ways that I've been able to keep the weight off and do it in a sane manner, and this is important because most all of us have lost weight before, but we then gained it back. And my hope is that this will be the last mentality you need, because what worked for me at the truest fundamental level has been the understanding that A, I'm a new creation in Christ. B, I need to act like that. Meaning, I don't need to reconcile my past. I don't need to try to figure it out. I don't need to try to solve everything. But rather, I just start from zero and move forward. I accept the past. And so I don't blame my parents for the multiple Schwann's man's dinners. I don't blame my parents for not knowing how to exercise. People get mad at me that I don't blame my parents enough, but it doesn't fix anything. Blaming them for a history that I can control the future of doesn't help anything. And so what I've done is I've said, since I'm a new creation in Christ and I love that for eternity, how can we bring that mindset from heaven to earth? Well, step one is we want to look at our weight loss goals, our process, really anything from weight loss, from the top down through the lens of, is this holy? Not is this right, not is this wrong, not is this good, not is this bad, but is this holy? Because for some people, taking a day off when they've exercised for like 200 days in a row is a good thing. That could be holy. Take a moment and take a breath. But that same day off for somebody who's not exercised for the past 200 days, well, that's them just taking what they could do today and putting it off until tomorrow. Is it good? Is it bad? It doesn't matter. What matters is it holy? Is it what God has called you to do as an act of worship and as an act of stewardship for your current state of health? Physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. That's where we start. We have that lens for everything. And from that, we might have to humble ourselves a little bit, because quite often, not throwing shade, but we are a part of a $48 billion marketing machine that is designed to teach us that we are deficient. And that if we could just have something else, quite often it's a body that we don't have, then we'll be perfect. But many of us have lost weight and we've achieved those esteems, but we never maintained it, because we realized, well, that's not what we really wanted. We want the freedom that comes from the weight loss. We want all of the fringe benefits. I did a live video yesterday about getting some ice skates, because I've not had to buy ice skates for like 15, 20 years. And the crazy thing about buying ice skates in this current shape is that it was totally different. This is literally the first time I wanted to buy ice skates and I didn't have to worry about how were the rivets. Were they copper rivets? Because copper rivets will hold better and the skate won't rip apart from the boot. Well, growing up as a morbidly obese child, comfort didn't matter. We had to have the heaviest, thickest thing, because if I went in the corner, like, there was a lot of me to stop, and that's a lot of faith in 12 rivets. Likewise, how is the boot constructed to the base? Is it an actual one-piece boot, or is it glue? Because when you break about 3 pairs of skates because it breaks, well, all of a sudden, again, comfort, style doesn't matter. You don't want to go in the corner and break your ankle because your skate breaks as well. Last month, I didn't have to worry about that. I played hockey yesterday. Didn't have to worry about that. It was all about comfort and safety, the way it should have been. I was normal. I was average. I just went and I bought skates. It was glorious. And that's the true freedom that we have with weight loss. Yes, we all want to look good. Yes, we don't want to have that little thing that flops over our pants. And for some of us, that's a sign that we're eating way too much sugar. But if we constantly focus on those things and not setting up the structures in our lives that lead to being healthy, then it's all going to come back. So if we're going to do this, let's do this right and make the changes in our lives that might be different than what we've been taught. Because we're taught, if you just go on this meal plan, you can never have chocolate again. BS, you should have chocolate again. You should always have chocolate, but you should do it in a way that is responsible. So if you're trying to lose weight, not the best time for chocolate. It's the best time for cucumbers, as my man knows. But once you've lost weight and you're just simply maintaining, why not bring chocolate back? But do it in a way that's not out of stress. Do it in a way that's not out of comfort. do it in a way that's honoring God. And that's a hard mentality for a lot of us. And so I was cautious when I used the word humble yourself, because quite often that seems like it's a derogatory, like, look at you getting all high. You need to chill down. No. Sometimes we have to be willing to know that we don't know everything and there might be a new perspective. So let's embrace that. Let's be open enough to learn that there are ways to lose weight and still have some of the foods that we used to love. Just not every night, because we know what that leads to. So step one in all of this is you look at it through the lens of holiness. Step two is you humble yourself enough to be open to the idea that we're just changing our life. But it's not that we're changing it for the bad. We are upgrading, son. It's like we're changing a DeLorean for a Mercedes. And that's a trade that everyone wins, unless you're a huge Michael J. Fox fan, but that's another story for another time. The third thing is you need to embrace grace. Because this is a learning process, and if anyone tells you elsewise, send them my way. We will have friendly discourse. This is a learning process. We're literally learning how to operate in a non-overweight life. Since so many of us have struggled with being overweight, I think one of the biggest challenges we face is learning how to not live in a way that we're used to. And if you've lived overweight for 5 years, if you've lived overweight for 10 years, if you've lived overweight for 15, 20, I mean, like, a lot of us have struggled with this for most of our lives. And so to just overturn 20 years of programming in 6 weeks, that's a big ask. I mean, I've got an 8-year-old who can't even learn, and she's only got like 5 years of bad programming. The first 3 years we give grace because kids, right, they're sponges. But 20 years, 30 years to be changed in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, it's going to take time. But that doesn't mean that we don't always seek progress. And this is where I feel the cycle actually becomes good. Quite often we get stuck in cycles that aren't good, but this is a cycle that's great. You start with holiness. You go, Lord, what is the most holiest way to look at this? And then you open yourself to say, you know what? I would have not thought that kayaking could be amazing. But I've tried kayaking and that's a huge blessing. Wait a minute, that counts as cardio? Oh, snap! Who knew exercise could be fun? I'm going to embrace the grace of being a kayaker. That was amazing. What else could happen? Let's look at food through the lens of holiness. I don't like the way my parents made broccoli. I'm now 39. Maybe I'll try to make broccoli myself. Broccoli is amazing. I never knew. You're right. And it all comes from looking through the lens of holiness. Holiness sets us up to look at things through the lens of Christ. Christ wants nothing but the best for us. The frustration and the conflict comes because we often don't know what the best for us looks like, because we're literally hit with tons of marketing messages that are counter to Christ. But you've got to be open to realize that, I hate to put it this way, the world's agenda and the Lord's agenda are a little bit different. And if you're trying to take your weight loss journey away from the Lord's agenda and put it through the world's agenda, naturally you're going to have tension. Naturally you're going to have frustration. But that doesn't mean you quit. That's where the grace comes in. That's where you give yourself the patience and the peace to say, I'm going to make tomorrow better than today, and today will be better than yesterday. We don't do a complete 180. If you can, great, but just make tomorrow better than today was. Make today better than yesterday was. And you'll find yourselves 3 months from now having massive success. 6 months from now having massive success. A year from now having massive success. But it all starts by being willing to take your weight loss process and look at it through the lens of, is this holy? And if you ever get lost or frustrated or confused again, Leviticus 20:26. There's no better template. There's no better reminder. And because of that, I'm just going to end there. because the Lord has done a great job of showing us how do we abolish the frustration in our lives. And if you do it in these 3 steps, 1, seek holiness. 2, humble yourself and be open to new ideas. And then 3, embrace the grace that will come when there's tension and change. And you keep that cycle going, not only will you lose the weight, but you'll keep it off. And dare I say, you'll enjoy the process. And that is what I'm most hopeful for everyone. Not just that you lose the weight, but that you find joy in the journey, because it's not just a goal to get healthier, but also closer to God. And that is what we would call a win-win. So God, thank you so much